Where's Huey? You know what's really funny is now that you've plugged in your headphones, you're the only one that can hear the awesome music. No,
Hold
perfect.
Nobody hears the music except for me.
No, you're gonna have to sing like you did this
Oh
morning.
my God. Okay, wait, hold on. No, we're live, but we're gonna hear the music if it's the last thing I do. Hold on a second.
I'm here
We're
for
gonna
it.
we're gonna hear the music if it's the last thing I do. Here we go. Let's try this. No, I'm the only one. I'm the only one that heard the music. Okay,
this is my favorite intro ever.
We played Huey Lewis for Carl, and I guess since I'm the only one wearing headphones, I'm the only one that heard it. It was hip to be square, Carl. So just put that on in your head. It was hip to be square. It's a great song.
Funny.
I can't believe, and then I couldn't even, I don't know what was going on there. I'm having all sorts of.
So good morning. Good morning to you. I've missed you. How are you?
Hey, everyone. Hey, thank you so much for being back for Command Your Morning. Jesse, I missed you as well. And we were on quite a long hiatus. I mean, I was on vacation, and then I was on vacation after the vacation.
Yeah.
And now you're sort of on vacation.
Sort
of. In Florida because your son plays.
He's playing baseball.
Baseball.
Yep. Big tournament in Fort Myers, Florida this week. Super excited about it.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, this is day one. So giant tournament. He plays for a USA Prime team, and he's a pitcher only on this team. And so we get to watch a lot of hot baseball this week. But
that is so fun that you get to go to Florida for that.
I know.
You know, my 9-year-old Levi, we just got him a drum set. Well, my father-in-law got him a drum set because my father-in-law is a drummer, and Levi's taking drum lessons. And after like the third lesson, the kid is like he's so good at it. And his teacher can't believe how good he is. And lucky me, the drum set's right outside this door. So, you know, that's awesome. That's always fun. That's always fun. No, but that's cool. I'm hoping that maybe I'll send him to Fantasy Band Camp and I'll get to travel the country with him. You know what I mean?
I'm here for it. Can I say thank you to you really fast?
Yeah, go ahead. Sure, you can thank me for anything you want.
I'm thrilled to be talking to you and to Jason Abrams and to Carl Liebert.
You cannot lump me in the same category.
I can't and just
Carl
did, sir.
Liebert into you. Can, I mean, I'll take it, but you shouldn't do that.
I'll take it. My relentless questions. I'm curious about everyone and everything. But man, I'm thrilled for this morning. I'm thrilled for this interview, and so thank you for setting it up.
Well, I appreciate you being here. Jesse, you were telling me about some. Listen, I personally, I'm just going to say this, and this is not planned because some people think we plan all of our conversations.
No, they don't.
That would be completely inauthentic. I have been having trouble sleeping lately, so I'm glad that you did bring up this topic to me this morning.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, tell us what we're talking about.
Back at Family Reunion, when Gary interviewed Tim Ferriss, Gary asked him for some marching orders. He said, all right, so after this conversation today, tell me what's the thing? What are the 1 to 3 things we should be doing? And Tim recommended an app called Waking Up. And I want to tell you that I did my homework. Finally, I downloaded the app called Waking Up, and it's amazing. I've been using it for about a month and a half. And it's guided meditation, it's movement, but it's simple. It's simple and it's quick. And I'm noticing changes in my sleep and in my waking hours from it. And man, it's just, I can't recommend it enough. Go back and listen to that if you can. Listen to Tim Ferriss's recommendation. But just download the app, Waking Up, do it.
Yeah, but just what's so different about that one as opposed to like Headspace or
you don't have to search. There are so many awesome options on Headspace and Calm and all those really cool apps. And I get stuck searching for the perfect thing. This one just says, boom, do it. Do this.
Okay. I love it. I like to be just kind of told what to do because I don't like to figure stuff out. So I think that would be helpful for me. So I'm gonna download that. Is there someone like talking to you like this? And now Picture your feet sinking into the floor. Because I hate that. I'll turn it right off.
If sometimes there is, but it's not cheesy. You'll love it.
Okay, good. Because I have been having trouble sleeping. I don't know why I never do, but recently I have. So that's a great tip. Thank you. I've just already learned so much in the last 5 minutes.
You're welcome.
We're gonna learn a heck of a lot more in just a second. We're gonna bring on our guests, and I'm worried to play our theme song because I don't think people will hear the music. So I'm just gonna cut the theme song out.
I say let's just bring.
Yeah, because I'm wearing headphones, and obviously I swear I was a regional tech trainer. I promise.
You're so techie.
All right, let's bring on our guest, the CEO of KWx, Carl Liebert, and head of industry at KWRI, Jason Abrams, are both here on the show this morning.
Yes, guys.
Thank you so much for being here, both of you.
An honor to be here, Nick. Thanks for having us.
On Command Your Morning.
Here.
Thanks, Carl. And it's awesome to get this opportunity to talk to you. Jesse and I are super excited. Just a little bit about Carl. For those of you who don't know, he was a former Navy basketball player. He was in the Navy, of course, because you have to be in the Navy to be a basketball player. I would assume that you did. I don't know sports that much, but so he is a military guy. You have a whole bunch of degrees from really good schools: Harvard, Stanford, Vanderbilt. You ran, like, honestly, the largest companies in their category in the world: Home Depot, 24 Hour Fitness, USAA, AutoNation. The one thing I have in common with you is that I went to 24 Hour Fitness. I was a member of that gym.
Wow.
So we have that.
Nick, there it is.
We found it.
Look at that. We found that connection. We're meant to be.
I love it. You and The Rock.
I love 24 Hour Fitness. Me and The Rock, we would work out together. Well, he wouldn't know I was there, but. And now you're at Keller Williams, the largest real estate franchise. So that kind of only makes sense. You know what I mean? So thanks for being with us. And thanks for being with the company.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Jesse and Nick. It's so fun to hear your enthusiasm and excitement on a Friday morning, and I can only imagine what's in store for me over the next few moments. So I feel like I need a safety belt if I'm going to ride with you guys. So this is going to be fun.
Well, this is where everything kind of comes to. This is the pinnacle here, Carl. Like after this episode, you can just retire. Because this is where it was meant to go.
So Carl and Jason Abrams, of course, we get to, this drill. Jason is the VP of Industry for Keller Williams Realty. Welcome back, and thank you for being here. But to the both of you, to Carl, to Jason, first of all, thank you again. We're honored and grateful for the time. And Nick and I have a theory: if we can't have fun, we quit. And so we decided that we take this very, very seriously.
Write that one down. Write that one down.
In our agreement, Nick, I got it.
We can't have fun, we quit. And so I thought you'd like to have fun along with us, if that's cool. Is that cool?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if I can, Nick, do I have permission to jump into the first question?
Yeah, you don't need my permission. Go ahead.
All right. Money is good for the good it can do. And we all are excited to do a lot of good. Can we talk about Keller Williams going public? When and how do Nick and Jesse get first in line?
Yeah, good. I love it. I think Jason should take first question number one. Jason, would you take question number one for me?
I will defer to Jason.
I'm sure they're dying to hear from me on this topic, Carl. That's specifically why they wanted me here. Yes.
Hey, my first response is not soon enough, Jesse. So that's what I'll start.
I like that response.
So, look, I think one of the things, this is, Nick mentioned it in his opening, we're an incredible company. When you think about our size, and our scale and our reach and our purpose, and how we've, cultivated this, from the millionaire real estate agent all the way up to you can achieve your dreams and be successful. The role or the task that we set out to do is to bring these companies together, to play as one and start to think about, okay, what's KWRI's role in our future? What are our market centers' role in our future? What is Keller Mortgage's role in our future? How do we think about home ownership and the consumer along the way in that journey? So right now, what we're working on is pulling all those together under what we call, I guess the press would call it a holding company. I call it one co, because I always come back to this idea of one team. And so what we want to do is bring all that together to support our agents and create a home ownership experience for them and their clients, and start to make home ownership maybe a little more fun than just all the things that come along with owning a home and delivering that with the agent at the center of the universe.
Yeah, I think it's right on. And by the way, the way that you phrased the question about money, I thought was the absolute best way to phrase it. If you guys haven't read How Rich People Think, I always try to give you as many books as I can. It's a fantastic one. You know it's good because it quotes Johnny Carson. Here's what it says. The only thing that money gives you is the freedom of not worrying about money. And so I want to just throw that out into the world this morning, because here's the thing. So many of you are masters of the science of achievement, but I'd like you to consider the art of fulfillment for a minute this morning, which is, once you have all of these things, is it going to lead to any greater sense of fulfillment? And if not, then that should be the first quest. And I promise you, if you go down that road, the money just shows up, Jessie.
Oh, I love it. Have we officially proved scientifically that there's no more happiness after it's something like $75,000 a year or something like that? That sticks in my head for some reason.
I think that it's a fabulous study that they did. And the way that the happiness quotient works is, past about $150,000 a year, there's almost no appreciable difference between that and then getting past 250,000. As a matter of fact, between 250 and 450, the happiness quotient actually goes backwards. And we all have to come to grips with the idea that all of the money that we have simply provides us more options, meaning most of us will have some sort of vehicle. The question is how many of them will you choose from? Most of us will go on some vacation. Nick takes 2 at a time, which is the rest of us take 1. But the question is, where will I go? And then once I get there, how much control will I have over the experience? And so whether it's a public offering, or it's a private offering, or it's your business, or it's your savings, here's what we know: that without money and time, we yield little power over life. And in the absence of money, the smallest of life's problems become the largest of life's problems. Carl, that's kind of the mission that we're on.
Yeah, I think so, Jason. And I think this is look, how do we do this in a win-win way? Jessie, is what we're spending a lot of time on. Gary and I and the leadership team is, I shared this with many, many people. Having the privilege to be at a time at Home Depot in the early 2000s, almost 300,000 people, and opening a new store every 48 hours around the globe. One of the proudest things, though, were we had between 40 and 50,000 cashiers who were millionaires. And I'm going to say that again. Cashiers who were millionaires because they were smart and used their income or their 401k or their ability to purchase stock. And they did that over the course of time in the 90s and the early 2000s. And Home Depot had 13 stock splits along the way. And so you literally had cashiers making $12 to $15 an hour who were millionaires because they had bought in not only to the company, but they had bought into the movement of what the company could be and how it would serve its customers. And so what Jason said is just absolutely spot on. It's how do we think about this when we do go public and when we do come together and do those things? So we're spending a lot of thought to make sure that when we do this, we can do it together with the entire Keller Williams ecosystem and family.
Wow, that stat is going to be on repeat in my mind. That's awesome.
Was it Microsoft too? Millionaire administrator. Well, they called them secretaries back then, and now we don't. So I don't. But administrative assistants. Mm-hmm. They had, I think, the most millionaire administrative assistants at one time.
That's
right?
Incredible.
Is that accurate?
They did.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah, that's very true.
The thing about it, Nick, is whether you have consumers in your data banks, if you're an agent that sends you referrals, or whether you're a team leader and you have agents that give you referrals of other agents to join our market centers, or whether you choose to go out and invest in companies, people want to own parts of things they believe in. And that's marked the upward surge of Keller Williams since 1983. That's literally the culture of the profit share system. We all own a piece of our success by being stakeholders. The interesting thing about our company is we may all go from being stakeholders to being stakeholders. And it won't be the other way around.
Yeah. Well, I want to just talk. I want to briefly talk about how Keller Williams has always has always said that the agent is their customer. And I think, at least as far as I know, we were the first real estate company to really feel that way, or to really make
put
that
the agent at the center.
Yeah, put the agent at the center. And then the consumer is not the customer of the brokerage. It's the agent. And so you have, people didn't understand that. But if you have happy agents, then you're going to have happy consumers. So, I just want to talk a little bit about our technology, because we're building both. But what part of the tech needs to be kind of at the forefront in that sense, right? Or do they both have to be
what is right
equal?
now?
Yeah. Like where do we need to go with that? Do we need to focus more on the consumer because that's the person who wants the streamlined experience, or do we need to focus more on the agent technology? Where do we need to go with that?
Well, Jason, you want me to jump in and you please play color commentary on this one? Well, look, first of all, Nick, I believe hypothetically, but I wake up every day and I think all things want to go to zero, which means you want to be better today than you were yesterday. If you want to get to work quicker or more quickly than you did yesterday, you want frictionless, seamless transactions today better than you had yesterday. And so what happens is, when you're a tech company, it's a relentless journey. It's a relentless journey to improve every day. Similar to Jesse, you talking about downloading and starting how you're thinking about meditation every morning, getting your morning started with that first time to actually get yourself started. You want to be better today than you were yesterday, and you're using that as an opportunity. We have to do those things, Nick, not only for our agents and using our technology, but we have to do it for our partners in the market centers and how they think about it. And then we have to do this for the consumer. And when I say that, what we believe and aspire to is that our consumer technology becomes the gateway to connect the agent with their client. In other words, we believe that the only way, or the gateway for our success, is to make sure that client and that agent are forever connected in a way that they're digitally connected. Our agents understand what's going on in the minds of our clients. Our agents understand how much they're paying for their mortgage, what they're doing for insurance, how they're thinking about property management, all those things, so that we can stay connected in a way that brings those together. So this idea that nurturing your clients, if you're an agent, which we know is so important, but if I'm with one of my clients right now and I have 99 others, it's very difficult for me to nurture all 100 at the same time. But digitally, through a consumer platform, we have the ability to create that connects, and the consumer actually believes that the agent is connecting with them through this technology platform. So, long-winded way of answering that, I think we have to do both. And I think, like everything in our world, we don't wake up and compare ourselves to, I'll call it CRMs that are across the industry. Our agents wake up every day and they compare us to Netflix. They compare us to Apple. They compare us to Google. They compare us to Facebook. And so we can't, as we think about a tech company, we can't compare ourselves to what's happening in the industry. We must compare ourselves to the best in class technology and experiences in the world. And that's how we think about waking up every day to support them.
Well, it's interesting because, as I look at the different companies that you headed, Home Depot, 24 Hour Fitness, AutoNation. I mean, at the heart of those companies is a consumer experience. I mean, at its core. I mean, Home Depot reinventing the hardware store, 24 Hour Fitness just reinventing the way people stay in shape, AutoNation reinventing the way people buy cars, and now KW reinventing the way people buy and sell homes. I'm just having an enormous epiphany right now. You know what I mean? Gosh. I might be the last one. I might be the last one to have this epiphany, but like,
no, if I can connect this and ask a question about that. I'm kind of going back to ownership here, but gosh, guys, just last night we were at an awesome restaurant and we had a great server. And my son, who's 15 and pretty perceptive, said, "Gosh, I think he might be. You think he's the owner?" You think he's the owner or the manager or
yeah.
something like that? And I said, you know what? I said, he might be. He really enjoys his job. He's very proud of the restaurant. He's very good at selling everything. And so maybe there must be a connection then between our agents having ownership in the company and the consumer experience.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
It has to be that way, right? And so what we want are a highly engaged agent population that work for KWx. Nobody ever wins a war with a fair fight. I want an unfair fight, and I want that unfair advantage for us in Keller Williams. This is where culture and purpose matter, right? That our agents know that we have their back, that we show up to support them, but most importantly, that we listen and we're in this kind of win-win or no deal mentality together. Your server last night, he feels a part of something bigger than himself. That's a human need that all of us really aspire to. I feel my best when I'm a part of something bigger than myself. And if you can create that ecosystem in a way that you really believe this is one team and we're working together for each other's mutual success, Jessie, it's amazing what humans will do and the ends of the world they will run to in order to accomplish their mission to support that.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned one team, and I love that mentality. Can you talk a little bit about that? I was watching your interview with Lelena on Out Front. If you haven't seen it, go to Out Front and watch the interview. You talked a little bit about one team mentality. Can you tell us what you mean by that?
Yeah, it's a collection, Nick, of things that I've acquired across of a career to how to get these large amorphous things to play together and work together as one. And I always talk about there's a what of purpose-led, people first, values inspired that we're starting to think about, but how does that show up if I'm an individual and those traits of humble, positive, respectful, belonging, how we do it. I'm so pleased when I hear you guys talk about this importance of fun. One of the things I talk about is this idea is we want to work and play as one, have fun, and bring lots of energy to everything that we do. And so as we think about this idea of being on a team, what I try to do, and Jessie, your son's playing on a team now in Florida. I coached many of my son's AAU basketball teams at the national tournament at Disney and the wide world of sports there, and spent a lot of time in Florida about this time of year coaching youth basketball. But when you're on a team, it's your aspirations as an individual are not as important as the team's aspirations of what we need to do to accomplish together. I need to show up and play my position and do it extraordinarily well, but I want to play on this team, and ultimately the scoreboard that the team is successful is most important to me, and being able to drive that. So this idea of one team, one mission is designed and thoughtful to bring people together, to create transparency, to have healthy, fierce conversations together, but to show up as one, fight together, and win together. And throughout that, course of my career, it's served me well, but it's also allowed everybody to see themselves in where we're going and what we're doing. And I think that's really important, whether you're the starter or the person who comes off the bench, or the manager who lays out the uniforms before the game, or the parents that drop their kids off at practice. Everybody in that ecosystem needs to see their role in how to make that team successful, because Jessie's role as a parent is every bit as important as the assistant coach or the coach's role on creating a winning environment and team.
Carl, what does amorphous mean?
That's a good one. Yeah.
I literally have, Nick, pages of definitions of words that I've learned from Carl.
Carl, you had me at amorphous.
I got so many. What's amorphous?
You can look it up.
Look,
I'm sure everybody's looking it up right now.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm Googling it. You can.
It's something at the aquarium. No, this is amorphous.
Shapeless, being without definite character or nature. That's a great word.
Yeah, it is.
It's intangible, Jason. It's how do you explain? Oh, well, let me ask you this: how do you explain that you love somebody? Like, what is it? Do you love what they do, or do you just, is it a feeling? Is it just how you think about that and those kind of things? And so some of those intangibles of, wow, why would I sacrifice in order for my team to win? It's because I believe in us, and I'm a collective in this collective together. And it's not something that's always, it's a set of behaviors, but it's also a set of actions, but it's how we show up, and trying to create some transparency around that allows people to work together and play together. So Jason, it's elusive to me at times, but this amorphous behavior of getting people to sacrifice themselves in order to support the team's goals and objectives is a part of success when you start to try and build big teams to go after, to do big things.
You just saw, and I didn't mean for it to happen, but you literally just saw one team in motion.
Yes.
Because you have Gary, who's an amazing teacher. You have Carl, who's an amazing teacher. Our meetings are literally like that. Like he'll ask a room a question. So how do you define love? And before you know it, everyone's got their notebook out. And I tell you, when you start having conversations like that, it gets really clear. Tristan said it yesterday. Tristan said, we recruit consumers to convenience. And I was thinking about that last night, and I was thinking, how could I add to that? And you just saw it in action. We recruit consumers to convenience, but we recruit real estate agents to abundance. And it's that word that we all then get to define. And I simply take the word recruit, analogous for the word love, and say, well, if you actually cared enough about either subgroup, you couldn't help but want to bring them into your world.
Hey, Jason, are we going to write a Carl Liebert dictionary? Do we want to do that?
I have begun the dictionary, and I'm just going to tell you, if you don't know what a limfac is, or a scrum of scrums, or
these all sound like sea creatures to me.
I got, you don't even.
I love words. I love words, Jason. I would pay big money for a text of that page of your book. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, if you don't know about a hot scrub, then you can't hang out here.
I'm gonna find out.
I don't know if I want to know what that is this early in the morning. Hey, I want to focus, people. This is serious business. Carl, you were a Navy man. So first of all, thank you for your service. We greatly appreciate that. How did your service in the Navy shape your leadership values and your leadership mentality?
Wow. Well, thank you for asking that question. At first, I think it's in order to be successful in the military as a leader, I think you focus on serving others, and you recognize that your role is in service to others. And I often talk about this, is that, most people believe that the CEO is the top of the pyramid, and that's 100% wrong. Like the CEO is at the bottom of an inverted pyramid, and their job is to serve everybody above them. And there is an enormous amount of gravity that they have to fight against in order to do that, because there's hierarchy, there's tradition, there's bureaucracy, there are all the things that creep in that when you get a title, suddenly people think they're more important than they truly are. And I think in the military, it's a humbling experience. When I reported to my ship in Haifa, Israel, 48 hours after I was newly married, walked up the gangplank at 23 years old with my sea bag, and, started to lead, 50, 60 sailors that were older than me, that had more experience than I did, that were really more qualified than I was. I had a lot of book smarts. I had a lot of training, but at that point I was on a ship in the middle of the Mediterranean. And you learn to slow down a little bit and recognize how important it is before you can lead, is you must first listen and learn to bring those together. And the ability to serve a group of, at the time when I was in the Navy, men were the only ones on ships. Now men and women are on ships and submarines, but you learn to serve them. And if you wake up every day and you either serve the people that serve you, or you serve the folks that they serve, it's amazing how this flywheel starts to go. And, we were fortunate enough to go from the worst ship in the East Coast, from a supply department along the way to 2 years later winning the Blue E to be the most accomplished ship on the waterfront.
Wow.
In the supply department. And it was with Nick, it was with the same people. It was the exact same people. 2 years later, we went from worst to first. And it was because they didn't listen to me as much as I served them. And that success was all about a team win. And it was just extraordinarily humbling to be a part of something like that.
Is that the new 3 L's? That's the new 3 L's: to listen, learn, and lead. We're used to, of course.
Ooh, I like that.
Leads, listings, leverage. That's the new 3 L's. Thanks, Carl.
When you come into work in the morning, is the first thing you do is make Jason drop and give you 20? I just want to make sure that
Jason's already done his 20. Jason's already done his 20. He's already run around the building a few times. He's usually Jason, comes into my office. He gives me the latest fire drill of the day.
Well, there's two of us.
Then we go set that up.
What, Jason?
Can I ask y'all?
No, go right at it. There's two of us. There's a guy named Travis here, and he and I compete. And every morning I beat him in a push-up contest. And it's just what we do.
I was going to say, you're looking broad there, man. Right?
Looking good.
Very broad.
You may have noticed.
I have noticed. You're laying off the donuts and you're hitting the push-ups. I love it.
Congratulations.
No, he's not. He's not laying off the donuts now.
He's not laying
off donuts.
Okay.
Can I ask y'all?
Have me bringing grapes in now. So
I love it.
Good.
Grapes are yummy.
Good fuel. I need to ask you, my awesome MAPS coach, my mastery coach, Susan Vendors, and sent to all of her clients, Carl, your interview with Don Yeager. And it was, I love the podcast, Don's podcast now, by the way, Corporate Competitors, the name of the podcast. But you dove into a lesson that every sports parent watching a basketball game has yelled before: hustle back and play defense. Hustle back and play. Will you overview and repeat that lesson for us?
Look, Jess, I've played for many coaches, and you're a parent of a student athlete. And look, student athletes that are competitors, nobody's harder on them than themselves, usually. And so I had coaches across my career that while I was a student of the game, many of them thought I was a deep thinker. In other words, I had a tendency to beat myself up when I made a mistake. And I played for a coach my freshman year at the Naval Academy, Hank Kuzma, who was probably, ironically, one of the best players to ever play at the Naval Academy prior to the era that my group came through. And he noticed it. He noticed that, as an 18-year-old, I had a tendency to, when I made a mistake, to look toward the bench, put my head down, or beat myself up to go do those things. And he, after practice, he sat down with me and he said, I want you to focus on one thing when you play for me. And I want you to focus on not making 2 mistakes in a row. And I naturally said, well, okay, I started thinking about, is that a missed shot and a turnover? Is that a missed shot and I let my person score on me? And he said, I want you to think about this, is that you're going to miss shots, you're going to make mistakes, but your second mistake can't be you put your head down, or your second mistake can't be that you beat yourself up, or that you can't blame the referee, or you can't look to me and blame me as your coach. Is I want you to hustle back and make this play on defense, a next play. So if you miss a shot, why don't you, instead of thinking about you missed the shot, hustle back and talk about the next play and what you're going to do to create something for this team to win. That freshman team went undefeated and ended up doing some incredible and extraordinary things. The only freshman team at the Naval Academy that had ever done it. And it was a really life lesson for me in that I've translated to business is okay, we're going to miss shots and make a mistake, and I make 1,000 of them every day as a CEO, is how do I make the next play not something that's positive for my team to win, as opposed to me thinking about me in that role. So never make 2 mistakes in a row has kind of been a mantra since I was 18, and it's served me well. It's not easy to do sometimes, because if you care, you do that. But that was part of part of a great story that Don kind of pulled out of me in the Corporate Competitor podcast. I haven't talked about that in a long time. And it was so great. Don's so gifted about pulling that kind of stuff out. So it was great to share. Thanks for asking.
Oh, really? It was awesome. I think you finished the story by saying that sports taught you how to fail. And that was so special to me. I appreciate it so much because the stat that was shared was 94% of female C-suite executives had played a sport in high school and or college. And so us failing
I didn't
forward.
know that.
Yeah,
wow.
Isn't that cool?
That's an incredible stat.
So us failing forward as C-suite executives, that is a skill that we have to learn, and it sounds like it is learnable. So gosh, thank you so much for that. It's awesome.
There's a great quote around that, Jesse. If you haven't read Tony Dungy's book, The Soul of a Team, it's one of those you have to have on your shelf. And he says early in the book, he learned through sports that though some individuals behave horribly and others live honorably, they all have something in common. They affect people around them. The same is true for us. Our actions and attitudes really do impact those we live and work with. And I think sports probably shows up that way. At least that's the argument that he makes better than almost anything else.
Well, Carl and Jason, I didn't play sports. But I did do.
You're playing sports now, Nick. Well, None of us can escape your photos of the.
That is true. Listen, hey, I'm taking after you, running around the building. I was going to say that I did other types of team activities. I was in musical theater.
Oh, wow.
And did you know that about me, Jason? I'm a classically trained singer. You did not. You know what? Maybe I'll get up on stage with Gary at the Red Bash and we'll rock out together. But I
had no idea. You're a thespian.
I am a thespian.
Square to me this morning. Prior
I was singing Hip to Be Square.
He's good.
Yeah, so I did musical theater. I played Little Shop of Horrors. I did Oliver. I did, Pippin. I had the lead in all those shows. And this is my best friend watching, Rashawn. He just joined Myrtle Beach, Keller Williams. So he's saying, yes, he is a thespian. He remembers. Yeah.
But is that what taught you how to fail?
So what I was going to say was, similar. I mean, very similar to sports.
You're good at it.
Like you have lines and you have cues and you have to, know when to hit your mark. And that has taught me to play well on teams. And, the one team mentality, when I was listening to you talk about it, just resonated with me because of that reason.
So good.
Can I ask you, Carl and Jason? I'd love to.
Nick Baldwin skill, Jesse. You knew this guy does summer stock in the winter. He's so good.
He's a big deal.
Chuck Norris.
You should have seen me in the Poconos at summer stock. No, I'm just kidding. I wasn't in summer stock, but
you're awesome. I'd love to hear from both you, Carl and Jason, on this. And Carl, you being relatively still new to Keller Williams, even though the CEO of KWx, right? We all know that Keller Williams is a very experiential company. And so I'm just curious, what have you experienced as far as a course, a cultural moment, or a concept within KW so far that stands out that you want everybody to experience? And Jason, what's your favorite latest?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I wouldn't be here if I didn't really believe in this idea of being a purpose-driven company. And what makes Keller Williams, and you have to protect it, polish it, and work toward it each and every day to make sure that it stays that way, especially as you get big. I always say companies that grow as fast as we have and get to this size and scale is the curse of getting big. It's very, very dangerous because you will lose the very essence of what got you here. And I think about our core values. And so one of the things Jason's been a part of is we start every meeting with a mission moment. And before we get into the P&L, before we start grinding away on things we want to do better and all those things, we pause for a moment and we share a story about an agent, or a story about a market center, or a story about a homeowner, or a story about so that we connect the dots with ourselves, why we're here. right? I know we need to make money. I know we need to win. I know we need to be number one. I know we need to attract, retain, and coach agents. I know we need to build up a home ownership experience, but pausing for a moment, for a mission moment, to bring our core values back to life and why we're here and what we're doing was really important to me. And I think, you know, I have a privilege to spend time with Mo Anderson every time she comes into the office, and spent an enormous amount of time with her along this way. But I'm thankful a lot with Gary as being a coach and mentor of mine. Just, he's so great about, because he knows my heart is in a good place, but understanding how to do it. He's coached me a little bit, you know, that he thinks, you know, maybe I could be a velvet hammer similar to a Mo, where you get things done and do those things. So he nicknamed me, I think at family reunion, the Velvet Hammer too. But what he's doing is he's guiding me that it's okay to be the hammer, but always bring the velvet. And it's something that I think about in the mornings is one, as a coach, you have to give feedback and you have to coach people and hold people accountable. But if you bring the velvet along with that, people respond in a much more positive way and to do that. And so really pausing and thinking about, okay, how do I do this and bring this to life? It's a really important part of our values and purpose, because I've been at other companies, Jesse, that wasn't important. That wasn't a part of our culture. That wasn't a part of the mandate. And at Keller Williams, that is a part of our DNA that we cannot lose as we move forward, grow, and whatever we decide to do. So that's one of the things I've really drawn from this, and I'm forever thankful that I've been able to experience it, and it's certainly something I'm trying to practice each and every day.
I love that you start each meeting with like a story about, you know, an agent or a market.
I mean, that is great.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, people don't realize just how in tune KWRI is with you know, the market center level. I think it's great. This is a question for both of you. So Carl, you know, you were CEO of AutoNation, and with auto and real estate, the two are very similar in the sense that, like, both of those industries shift. I think auto industry shifts a lot quicker because it's like, okay, gas prices go up, now everyone wants an EV. Gas prices go down, now we want to off-road and get a giant, you know, Suburban. So in that sense, when it comes to real estate, the pandemic, you know, caused the consumer to then look at things differently and want things differently. Like, I think NAR said that 75% of first-time buyers in 2020 are working remotely, right? So like finding that bonus room was really important to them, right? Like a room for like an office or homeschooling. Yes. And I feel like, you know, I feel like agents are just really terrible at listening to stats like that. And I think that is what kind of detaches them from the needs of their consumers. Like yesterday, I told Jason that there is another NAR stat that said 78% of consumers are more interested in the neighborhood than the actual house itself.
That's a great stat.
And so the thing that hit me was, well, that's where our technology gets their data from. Like our consumer platforms are neighborhood driven with IDX data on top of it. Yeah. So, but anyway, my question is, you know, with auto shifting so fast and then real estate shifting once every decade or so, how can we as agents, you know, just get more in tune with what our consumers
How do we shift faster?
Right, like we were able to shift, and KW helped really well. I mean, I can't even tell you how amazing it was when you guys just like buckled down and helped us at the beginning of the pandemic, because nobody knew what was going on. But we really need to pay more attention to what our consumers want. And so you did that with cars. How do we do that with real estate?
Well, it's a fabulous question that could go in a lot of different ways, Nick. And you know, this is, I think one of the fundamental aspects of being a leader is to communicate, right? Which means you're constantly educating and teaching and bringing people along in that conversation. Your example of automotive, you know, for me, one of the things we always talked about, or I always talked about, is buying a car is just a transaction. Owning a car is a relationship for life with a dealership.
True.
And so, because so much about how do I use my car, so much about how do I service my vehicle, so much about do I want to come to get it serviced. In the world of EVs, will there be mobile servicing that goes on in your driveway? Does anybody really enjoy bringing their car to a place to get serviced, or would they love to have it done in their driveway? Would they love to have it done at their own home? And so you start to kind of think about this and translating that. In our space, this idea of people moving and becoming first-time homeowners and helping people, this is, I talked to Bill Soderoff, who runs Keller Worldwide, and we always say owning a home is an American dream, but it's a world dream. If you're a human in Portugal and you get your home, it's a world dream. And so as we think about our role is to bring people home. Well, once we've brought them home, it's how do we help them enjoy their home as opposed to their home being their second job, and doing that. And all the things that, agents will do to simplify the home ownership experience. And whether it's a bonus room and help me find that, or Jessie said this idea of a neighborhood and get me somewhere. I always, we moved a lot. I didn't raise them. My wife raised them 33 years together. I was always working. So Amy raised all our kids, but think about, we lived across the country in all these time zones with all these jobs. And where did we always start? We started with, what are the schools, Jessie, that have the best basketball team? No, we started with schools that had the best SAT scores. We started with the schools that had the best SAT scores. And then 1A was, do they have a good hoops team that they can play on there? Right. That's the only vote I ever got. And then that drove our neighborhood and where we were going to live and what we were going to do. And then that's where we said, I want to find a house there. And so if you're an agent that is really waking up, serving each one of your clients' needs, whether they're moving from the city to the suburbs, or they're moving from renters to owners of those kind of things, you really want to practice those great listening skills to kind of think about, what does this person want? What does it, because we all know there's lots of digital tools that I can go search on homes and send it to my agent and I want to see these. But the truth is to pause and say, what do you want? And how long do you intend to be where you're going to be? And how do I help you get to where you need to go? Well, there's nothing on one of our competitors that rhymes with Billo. There's nothing on there that says anything about all that stuff, right? That are the human that drives those kind of things. And we believe our technology should infuse human-centered design and this idea of understanding empathy for who we're serving. We think we can help the agent show up that way and be more empathetic to what their clients' needs are to help the agent be even better at serving them, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
100%.
Jason, I want you to weigh in on it too, because it took me a while to figure out what head of industry is, and now I know. And
we're
so
still trying to figure it out. We just made it up. But
this question's right up your alley too. So.
Hey, I think the jury is still out on the way people are going to live and where people are going to live. And I think that's always the case. It's always an evolving thing. And it has to be because it's one of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Mm-hmm. And we still don't know exactly what's going to happen with the way people are going to go back to work. It's very possible that you see a slingshot and all of a sudden everyone wants to rush back. It's very possible that it elongates and people like this hybrid thing. It's very possible that this takes 2 or 3 years to figure out. But here's what I know. I know that people have stopped looking at houses as standalone things and now view them as collections of rooms within larger areas. These larger areas are neighborhoods. And so as we continue to help people talk about residential real estate, we know we focus on the way the rooms are aligned, the way that they look, and then the way that they fit into the larger community. And when we do that, I think we best serve the consumer. To tie this all in a bow, I think that, and you had asked a question, Jessie. You said, well, what's the moment lately that you've seen that makes you, what I heard you ask is what makes you remember how magical Keller Williams is? And I'll tell you, Gary Keller sold a house for somebody when he was 21 years old. That person has now passed away, and he just got a phone call from the kids of that person. Whoa. Who said, hey, Mom and Dad passed away. We need to sell the house. They had watched your entire career, and they started every sentence with, our realtor Gary blank. Our realtor, Gary blank. And so we need to list the home. And will you list it for us? And I mean, 3 days ago, he's telling this story. And then yesterday, I was being mentored by his son, John, who is a brilliant practitioner in his own right. And he said something that blew my mind. And I wanted to call his dad and say, oh my gosh, you won't believe what your kid just said. And I called him and he said, I got to call you back. And I said, why? And he goes, I'm writing a comment section. I'm going live on a listing on Monday. And I'm like, my head exploded because he's still a realtor.
Whoa.
And it dawned on me in that moment that it didn't matter whether it was 83 or whether it was 2021 or whether you sell 1,000 homes a year or you sell 1 home a year. We're defined by how we understand the way our consumers want to live and then be part of that dream to help them find the place to live it in. And I loved it.
You know, Jason, you said the last time we talked that, you know, you would argue that this is the only real estate company, technology company, where at the helm are licensed real estate agents, and they're listing homes.
Oh my gosh! And by the way,
That
that's
blew my mind.
Today. I'll take the Pepsi challenge against any other company out there. If you want to bring your tech execs against our tech execs and talk real estate, we're ready to go.
That's so awesome! I love that.
Do we have time for a quick compliment and very quick question?
I think there's always time for compliments.
Always time for compliments, right?
Yeah.
How could you say no? So, Carl, Jason, in assembling the new team at from KWx on down, y'all have created energy within the market centers. From the perspective of market center leadership, it has been exciting to watch all of the new people and leaders come into our world. It's helped us have bigger and better conversations with our leaders, with our agent leaders, with our agents from brand new all the way up. And so thank you for that energy. It's awesome and we feel it.
Wait, Jesse, wait a minute, because we would be really remiss. We have to put an I, we have to dot that. There's a ton of people that have been responsible for that. It's the 357 people here at KWRI. We had some amazing people that positioned us in an amazing way. And we got to mention Mark King, because he literally came to town with a tornado of energy, and it follows him everywhere that he goes. And Matt Green, literally moving their families to Austin to be part of ours. It's
I'm glad you brought up Mark, because he's part of my question. He has a great line. He said, if you write down nothing else in Team Leader Fundamentals, our KWU course that I believe is morphing into Leadership Fundamentals, he says, if you write down nothing else, write down these 2 sentences. The first one is, your team will make or break you. And so the question is, what are the qualities across the board that you look for when you're hiring a leader?
Well, Carl, I'll yield. She said a quick one. I don't know.
Wait, was that a question, or you just wanted to say?
It could be a one-word answer.
There's a 4-hour podcast.
Okay, so
coachability.
Okay,
Jesse,
perfect.
coachability.
I have one question, because we have to ask this question because it's basically the name of the show. Command Your
mornings.
Carl and Jason, we know your morning routine. You've been on several times. But Carl, how do you start your morning? What's your routine? If there is one. Well, you're a Navy man, so I'm sure it's very... No, I don't know. What is it?
The bed's made really tight.
Do you make your bed, Carl? I need to know if that's actually something you do.
Well, first of all, I do make my bed, but I make it only after my wife has gotten up. I found that trying to make the bed at 4, so I get up at 4 a.m. And I try to spend the first 10 to 15 minutes. And what I do is I take a walk of gratitude, and I try to start my first 10 to 15 minutes being thankful for the blessings that I enjoy and I have. Thankful for my family, thankful for our feral cats that we tend to collect and that I have to feed while I'm getting up before. And thankful for my family, thankful for my colleagues. I think it's a helpful reminder for me that that there's so much goodness going on in my life, as opposed to all the things I'm thinking about I have to fix. So I try to start with that. And then I will turn on CNBC, as Jason knows, and I'll start with Worldwide Exchange, which comes on at 4, but I usually don't get into it till later, till about 4:15 or 4:20. And then I start with the Financial Times in London, and then I read into the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Barron's.
By 4:40,
Dude,
we're exchanging articles together. It's the only person that hits my text at 4:05.
Can I tell you something? The only two periodicals, they still call them periodicals, I don't know, that I subscribe to digitally are New York Times and Wall Street Journal. That's it. So feel free to shoot some of those over to me, because I have a subscription.
I will.
I'm written down.
Yeah. I will, Nick. And I think, and then I always like to go read The Economist as soon as it comes out on Thursday, Friday is a big deal for me. And then if you read The Atlantic, because I think it gives me different points of view on various things. So I'm constantly kind of in before 5 o'clock doing info fueling of filling my tank today on thoughts. And if I'm fortunate enough, depending on if I'm going to Orange Theory a couple mornings a week, or if I'm going to my Pilates class, which I've added to my routine this year to try to improve my posture and all those kind of things. I'm usually listening to a podcast, or the latest book I'm reading is called The Heart of Business. It's about Liebert, who transformed Best Buy and really prepared it to take on Amazon, which ultimately we're all going to have a fight with Amazon. It's just a matter of time, it feels like. Yeah. And what he did to bring purpose back to everyone at Best Buy to say, okay, we're going to treat people that come into our store extraordinarily well, and it's going to mean something. And so The Heart of Business is a book I'm spending a little bit of time in before I jump into my podcast. So yeah.
Can I say one thing about Best Buy? Because I think it can relate to what we're doing. I love going to Best Buy, love it. And my kids, I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. They go, Daddy, can we go to the phone store? Because they just love to play on the iPads and the phones while I'm looking, at a computer or a flat screen TV. It's just, there's something to be said about physically holding something, right? And there's also something to be said about physically going into a home to buy it. So it's like,
there you go.
Yeah. So
there's also something to be said about physically going in and being part of a thriving market center.
True.
Like the world wants to have a digital experience that's backed by a physical culture.
Yeah. There you go. I love it. Well,
this has been bigger.
Wait, so Carl, I know we're on it. What's the podcast? Give me one.
Oh yeah, what's the podcast you listen
to? Jason. So I'm a regular listen to the Daily on the New York Times, because
that's a good one.
When you get a thread going on and yeah, exactly. Those are my sprints I can get through. I love Pivot. I usually listen to Acquired every week, which is a very tech focused. And they always have a lot. Of course, I listen to Don and The Corporate Competitor. And then David Novak, the former head of Yum Brands, does one, How Leaders Lead.
Yes.
And he always has really, really insightful CEOs, men and women, leaders, that they're giving insights to what their secret sauce is and how they bring things, whether it's the head of Kendra Scott or a former colleague of mine, Frank Blake, who's at Home Depot. I find myself, taking notes, like, oh, I should be thinking about that. I should be doing that. So those are kind of and then I bounce around to hardcore history with Dan Carlin. I love history. So I spend a lot of time listening to history stories and things. So I'm a hot mess when it comes to my podcast.
There's a podcast that needs a little bit more promotion, because I don't think too many people are listening to it. It's called Think Like a CEO. I think it needs to get a few more plays. Have you heard of that one? It's pretty good.
I have, and I've listened. I'm completely caught up on Think Like a CEO.
There's a couple of good ones now. There's one called The Missing.
He's brilliant.
The Missing?
You guys know, like he did my interview to kind of introduce me at Family Reunion.
Yeah.
Gary has a gift for those kind of things, right? He is just an extraordinary gift about pulling things out of people. So it's fun for me to hear him bring those stories to life on his podcast, which is just really great.
What was the one you just mentioned, Jason?
Yeah, check out The Missing. In Britain, someone is reported missing every 90 seconds. And this podcast goes in and tells the story of the 1% of that group that is still missing a year later.
Oh, I'm on it.
That's cool.
Absolutely powerful. And the other one that you might really like, Nick, which if you want to break up the day, is my year in Mensa. It's fascinating. If you're interested in the idea of intellectual supremacy and group dynamics around it, this is a really fun one.
Well, also, by the way, I subscribe to the Wandry app because they have so many great podcasts, and Business Wars. Business Wars is like one of my favorites. And by the way, my 9-year-old loves Business Wars because it's done like an old time radio show, and there's acting and there's sound effects. Have you listened to Business Wars, Carl?
I have not. My sons do. My sons listen to it, and they're pretty adamant about it, and they're pestering me to actually pick it up and put it into my game. But the reason why I ask, and I've mentioned this to Jay and Gary a couple of times, what it does is it takes one company against another. So there's one about Blockbuster versus Netflix, Kroger versus Stop and Shop, or whatever it is, right? We need to do a Remax versus Keller Williams. We need to do that. Or we need to do a KW versus everybody. Like,
that would be a great story.
To pitch that to them.
Here's the interesting thing, Nick. We can't do it yet because the best parts of our story lie ahead.
Oh, there you go. Well, there could be a sequel. It's a super fun one, Carl, to listen to because it's done like a old time radio show. It's a lot of fun. Awesome.
Look, Nick, I'm taking that. Fridays are my day of exploration, so I try to do creativity things. This engineer in me doesn't do that very well, so I try to use Friday to learn something new and explore. So
a couple of the good ones. Starbucks versus Dunkin' Donuts, PlayStation versus Nintendo, Blockbuster versus Netflix. Those are really fun ones. All right, cool. Well, hey, listen, this has been, man, I gotta listen to this.
I have so much to read and listen to. Thank you.
Yeah, because there's always going to be awesome nuggets. Because when you're hosting it, sometimes.
Hey, Nick, we have one more before we go. We got to give a shout out. And Jesse, I don't know who to shout out on your side, but Carl and I want to give a shout out to a very lucky lady, Ann Baldwin.
What?
We want to thank her personally for all the time that she lets you spend pouring into all of us, and on behalf of the whole ecosystem. Well, we are really grateful.
Let me just tell you something about my wife. My wife is, and listen, this is very important. She is the reason, right? She is the reason. She's my biggest fan. She's my biggest supporter, and because she's my biggest supporter, she's also my biggest critic. And
she's a good one.
She's my best friend, and she's very supportive and lets me do this stuff, even though
that's why I picked her name. I didn't just randomly pick a name.
I know. I appreciate that, dude. Like, honestly, I appreciate that. Like, so thank you. That means a lot to me that you brought that up.
I love it.
Thank you both Jesse, so much for the time.
Jesse, you're welcome. Jesse, if I could just ask, enjoy the moment with your son and what you're getting ready to do. And I share with you, usually we spent 10 days in Florida with all of our boys at these tournaments that you spend a lot of time, in sweaty gyms or, coaching kids, but you'll miss it. You miss it when it's gone. And I think about it every day, but I just send us an update. Let us know how he does.
I will.
And we'll be looking forward to it. We'll be thinking about you this weekend, but enjoy every moment. Soak it up.
I will. Right? I will. Boss
Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Carl and Jason, we appreciate you taking the time. Everyone have an amazing Friday and a great weekend.
Y'all too.
Bye.